I've never been the kind of guy to jump to conclusions or to suspect my wife, Emily, of anything. We've been married for almost 10 years now, comfortable, familiar, mostly happy. Or at least I thought so. We had our usual ups and downs like everyone does, but nothing that suggested she'd go behind my back. Then, about a month ago, I started noticing small things. She was more irritable than usual, snapping at me over nothing, and she was always disappearing for hours at a time, claiming it was work or some appointment. She'd cancel plans last minute and her phone was glued to her hand more often than not. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe work stress or just her being bitchy, which she can be when she's in a bad mood. But then, I began noticing little inconsistencies in her stories. One night she told me she was working late at the office, but her phone pinged with a message from someone named Mike, and she hurriedly shut it off before I could see. She tell me it was just a client, just work stuff, but her tone changed. It wasn't the usual professional tone. It was flirtatious, maybe. I shrugged it off, thinking I was overthinking. But then I caught her sneaking out late at night, not just for work, but something else. She'd leave with her purse, slip on some sunglasses, and say she was going to get some late-night ice cream or a run to the store. That was odd, especially since she hates going out late by herself. One night I decided to follow her. It was stupid, I know, but I couldn't help it. She slipped out around midnight and I followed her from a distance. She drove to this small strip mall that I'd never paid much attention to, just a bunch of empty storefronts and a few fast food places. She parked outside this office building. I looked up at the sign and saw oral care experts, the dentist's office. I froze. I knew that was Dr. Carter's office, our family dentist. She went inside and I waited in the car, heart pounding. She was supposed to be at work, or so she said. She stayed inside for about 20 minutes. When she came out, she looked a little flushed, and she hurried back to her car. I couldn't believe it. I started piecing things together. The late-night runs, the secretive texts, the irritation. She was cheating on me. And with the dentist, that just made it worse. I'd known Dr. Carter for years. He was a nice guy, but I never thought Emily would sleep with him. What the hell was going on? I felt sick, angry, betrayed all at once. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it blindly. I needed proof, solid proof that I could present, so I started digging. I didn't know exactly how or what I'd find, but I was determined to find out the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The next few days were a roller coaster. I couldn't shake the image of Emily sneaking into Dr. Carter's office late at night. It kept playing in my mind like a sick movie. I kept asking myself, what the hell had I missed? How could I have been so blind? I started watching her more closely, noting every new lie, every shift in her behavior. She was colder, more dismissive. She'd snap at me over small things, then act like I was crazy when I asked what was wrong. The more I looked, the more I realized she was hiding something. I could feel it in my gut. A few days later, I decided I needed to see what I could find without her catching on. I knew her phone was a good place to start. I snuck into her purse when she was in the shower and found her texts. That's when I saw it, messages between her and Dr. Carter. Not just friendly banter or professional stuff, but explicit messages. She'd been lying to my face about everything. She called him Mike, and it was obvious they'd been seeing each other for a while now, probably during those late-night work trips she'd been claiming. I saw pictures she'd sent, and some of the texts were downright disgusting. I felt my stomach turn watching her flirt with him, talking about sex, about how much she loved the thrill of sneaking around. I couldn't believe I'd been so stupid. All those nights when I thought she was working late, she was in his office, probably doing everything but just getting a root canal. I was furious. I felt a mix of betrayal and heartbreak that hit me hard, like I'd been punched in the gut. I stared at her phone, trembling. I wanted to explode, but I knew I had to keep my cool. I needed to think, plan what to do next. I could just walk away, but no, I wanted to confront her first. I had to hear her lie, her denial, her sneering excuses. I wanted to see how far she'd go to pretend nothing was wrong. That night I waited until she was asleep, then I took her phone and saved everything I found. I knew this was the proof I needed, the ammo to finally get some answers. As I looked at the messages again, the anger started boiling over. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly, act like she loved me, and then cheat with our dentist? It all felt so surreal, like I was trapped in some twisted nightmare. It was one thing to suspect, but seeing it in black and white, or rather in texts, made it real. I was shattered. I didn't sleep that night, just sat there holding her phone, trying to process what I'd uncovered. The worst part was knowing this wasn't just a fling for her. She'd made plans, she'd lied for weeks. And Dr. Carter, I knew I'd have to face him too. The betrayal was so deep I could taste it. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what I should do, how I should handle this. I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I needed to confront Emily, get some answers, and settle this once and for all. But how? Do I just ask her outright? Do I show her the messages and hope she admits everything? Or do I go straight to the source, Dr. Carter? I wasn't sure yet, but I knew I had to act quickly before she found out I had seen everything. I waited until she got up, then casually brought up her recent behavior. She was sharp, defensive right away. She started with her usual lies, said she was stressed, she was working late, that I was paranoid. But I just pulled out her phone, laid it on the table, and watched her face drain of color when she saw all the messages. Her eyes widened and she tried to deny everything, but the proof was right there. I could see her faltering, her carefully constructed lies crumbling. Yet she doubled down with that bitchy smirk and her typical attitude of, "You don't understand, you're overreacting, it's not what it looks like." That's when I lost my temper. I told her I knew she'd been cheating on me with the dentist, that I'd caught her red-handed. Her reaction was a mix of anger, mockery, and outright denial. She called me crazy, said I was paranoid, and that I had no right to accuse her of anything. Then she started spinning some bullshit about how it was just sex, nothing serious. She claimed like that made it okay. She insisted they were just friends, that I was being insecure, that I was just jealous because I wasn't enough anymore. I felt my blood boil. How dare she say that? How could she just brush this all off like it was no big deal? I told her I had the messages, that I knew everything, but she kept lying. She kept playing her game, acting like I was the one at fault. Honestly, I was so furious I could have punched a hole in the wall, but I also felt a deep, crushing sadness. All those years I gave her my trust, my loyalty, and this is how she repaid me. I looked at her sneering face, and realized she had no regard for what we had or for me. She was used to lying, used to getting away with shit. I started thinking about all the times I'd been good to her, and how she'd just thrown that away for some late-night sex with my dentist. It was a slap in the face, and I knew I'd have to make some decisions soon. I decided I needed to get out of there for a while, clear my head, gather my thoughts. I told her I was done talking, that I needed space, and left the house. All I could think about were the lies, the betrayal, and how I'd been dumb enough to trust her. I started planning my next move, whether I was going to walk away or try to salvage what little dignity I had left. Honestly, part of me wanted to destroy her, to make her feel just a fraction of the pain I was feeling right now. But I also knew I needed to think about the consequences. This wasn't just some fling, it was a full-blown affair, and I'd have to face the fallout. The worst part, knowing I'd probably never look at her the same way again. After I left the house that day, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every thought was clouded with betrayal and rage. I knew I couldn't just let this go, not without doing something that made her realize what she'd done. I had no idea what kind of revenge I was after yet, but I was certain I couldn't just forgive her, not after all I'd seen, after all the lies she'd told me. I was hurt, pissed off, and honestly feeling pretty damn broken. I spent the next couple of days trying to keep it together. I went to work, acted like nothing was wrong, but inside I was boiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneering face, the texts she'd sent, the moments she'd spent with Dr. Carter. I kept replaying everything over and over, trying to find some way to make sense of it all. The only thing I knew for sure was that I needed to confront her again, and this time I had to be ready. I was planning to get her to admit everything, no matter how much she cussed or lied. One night I got a text from her. "Can we talk?" It was short, but it sent a jolt through me. My hands trembled. I knew I should ignore it, but I also knew I couldn't avoid her forever. I responded, telling her I'd meet her at the park nearby. I wanted her to face me, to look me in the eye and tell me the truth. She showed up 20 minutes later looking all smug and bitchy, like she was ready to deny everything again. We sat on a park bench and she started with her usual manipulation. "You don't understand," she said. "It's just sex, it's not a big deal, I didn't mean for it to happen. He's just my dentist and I was bored. You never paid attention to me anymore. I needed excitement. It meant nothing." Her words made me sick. She was lying, of course. I could see it in her eyes that she was just trying to justify her actions, trying to make herself feel better about betraying her vows. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I knew about the texts, about everything she'd been doing. Her face twisted into a nasty sneer and she started calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, that I was just insecure. I lost it. I called her all the names I could think of, told her she was a bitch, a cheat, a liar. I told her I was done, that I was going to leave her and take everything from her, that I was going to tell everyone, her friends, her family, about her little secret. Her reaction was to laugh at me, that cold, belligerent laugh that made my blood boil even more. I could see she was enjoying this like she'd won. That moment, I realized I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just walk away and pretend none of this had happened. I needed some kind of payback, some way to make her feel as betrayed as I did. But what? That's when the idea started forming in my mind, dark but tempting. I didn't want her to just cheat and get away with it. I wanted her to suffer, to see her realize what she'd lost, me. The more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. I wasn't just going to walk away, I was going to make her regret everything, make her see that her actions had consequences, that I wasn't some fool who would just take her back after she cheated. I spent the next few days gathering my strength, plotting the perfect way to expose her, to make her understand what she'd lost. I knew she thought she was untouchable, that her lies and sneering attitude would keep her safe, but I was about to turn the tables. One evening, I went through her phone again, this time for a different reason. I wanted to find proof of how deep her lies went, how long she'd been cheating, who else might be involved. What I found was even more disturbing. There were more messages, photos, and even videos of her and Dr. Carter, some explicit, some just flirtatious. But there was something else. I noticed her calling him baby, babe, and talking about how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. It was obvious she'd been planning this for a while, hiding it from me as if I was too stupid to notice. That's when I decided to make her pay. I needed to expose her to everyone, her friends, her family, everyone who thought she was this perfect, bitchy wife. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, to feel the shame she'd tried so hard to hide. I put together a plan. I created a fake email account and started sending her and Dr. Carter messages, pretending to be another woman interested in him. I kept pushing, egging him on, trying to get him to make a mistake. Meanwhile, I compiled everything I had, the texts, the pictures, the videos. I was ready to blow her world apart. I knew I had to be careful. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about making her see that she couldn't lie and cheat without consequences. I scheduled a meeting with her sister and a couple of close friends, told them everything about her affair, her lies, her manipulations. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, and humiliated. And when the moment came, I sent everything to her family and friends, texts, pictures, the whole sordid story. Watching her face when she found out was priceless. Her bitchy attitude disappeared, replaced by shock, anger, and desperation. But it was too late to undo what she'd done. I finally felt like I'd taken control. The aftermath was a mess. I moved out that same night. I couldn't stay under the same roof with her after everything that happened. I knew she'd probably spin it, try to blame me or pretend she was innocent, but I didn't care. I'd already won in my mind. The betrayal cut so deep, I wasn't sure if I could forgive her, but I also knew I'd never forget. I learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. My biggest lesson: never ignore the signs and never underestimate how far someone will go to hide their lies. And honestly, I hope she feels the sting of what she did, because if she doesn't, then she's just a cold, selfish bitch who got away with everything. In the days that followed, life felt like a wrecking ball had gone through everything I once believed in. Honestly, I'm still trying to piece myself back together. Part of me feels relief that I finally know the truth, relief that I didn't stay blind and naive, but most of all, relief that I managed to turn the tables on her, even if just a little. The other part, the bigger part, is still angry and hurt, because trusting someone, loving someone, and then discovering they've been lying and cheating behind your back is a kind of pain that's hard to describe. It's like losing a part of yourself, like your foundation was built on lies all along. Looking back, I realized she was manipulative, bitchy, and completely self-absorbed. She lied nonstop, spun stories, and played the victim whenever things got too close to the truth. She always acted like she was doing me a favor by pretending to be the perfect wife. But I see now that her real game was deception, craving the excitement of sneaking around, and a complete disregard for the vows we once took. I've learned that some people aren't worth saving and that you have to protect yourself first, because if you don't, they'll drag you into their mess and leave you to drown. I guess. What hurts most is knowing how long she'd been lying to me, hiding her true self behind that bitchy attitude and her pretty face. Watching her try to deny everything, even after I had all the proof, made me realize how skilled she was at twisting the truth. But no matter how much she lied, the facts were there, loud and clear. I've accepted that I can't change the past, but I can choose how I move forward. And for now, I've decided to focus on healing, on rebuilding my trust in myself, and on finding someone who genuinely respects and cares for me, not someone who cheats and manipulates. That experience has taught me a lot about myself. I've learned that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. And I've learned that no matter how much it hurts, sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and start fresh. My advice: watch for the signs early, trust your instincts, and don't let anyone treat you like an option. Because once you realize someone been lying to you, even if it's a spouse, it's better to face the truth and cut your losses than to stay in a lie that'll only destroy you from the inside out. At the end of the day, I'm still hurt, but I'm also stronger. I know I'll get past this even if it takes time. And I hope that anyone else out there dealing with betrayal learns from my story. Not to stay silent, not to ignore the signs, and definitely not to let anyone treat them like they're less than they are. Because the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living in lies.